Alright. Oh, that is annoying game sound. Definitely interferes with my thoughts, but I take off the headphones. Alright, anyway, so I was playing StarCraft 2. But the problem was that I had certain issue with my eye. Well, I still do. Basically, I was playing StarCraft and I was, sort of. Well, I was in a lot of bed rest and stuff, but I was expecting some kind of resolution to my problem when I go to the doctor, but there was no resolution. And I mean, if you played StarCraft, but when you play StarCraft, you do need your eyes. You constantly monitor what's going on the minimap and all that stuff. So there is constant eyeball movement, and when your eyeball is irritated, it's not really good for it. And basically I stuck on the last mission of Legacy of the Void, which is a hard mission, but I'm just not willing to for that sacrifice of personal comfort in exchange for completing the game. Hopefully tomorrow I'm going to the next more niche level of doctors that would hopefully give me at least an ETA to when the problem can be resolved, because the level of discomfort is really great. So for now I decided to play Baldur's Gate, decided to play something turn-based, and my consideration were pretty much Baldur's Gate, XCOM, Heroes of Might and Magic, and maybe Hearthstone. And basically I asked someone what to play, they said Baldur's Gate, and I went with it, why not? I wasn't really particularly particularly interested in any of those games, because when you're feeling down on yourself or whatever, like I am because I'm sick, you want to do something that you're good at. When you're doing something well, it makes you feel good about yourself, makes you feel good in general. So with that in mind, I would have liked to continue with StarCraft, to play in any case some other kind of fast-paced game, which is what I'm strong at. Quick reaction timings, multitasking, all that stuff. But alas, it's exactly what I can be playing, so we're gonna be stuck with this one instead. This wasn't really planned as an introduction to Baldur's Gate, but it might have to be, because now I actually have something to say. Let me just turn off the sound recording, so I can be sure that at least this part gets recorded. Alright, here we go. I also turned down sound so it doesn't interfere with me. Baldur's Gate actually is a game that is, despite me, I played a little bit of Baldur's Gate, but very little. So it doesn't really, I feel like it doesn't really count as playing Baldur's Gate. I probably haven't even completed 1% of the game. But despite that, Baldur's Gate is a game that I feel is special for me, because back in the long gone, maybe 96, 95, actually whenever Baldur's Gate came out, I did not own a computer back then, but I came across, I think one of my friends gave me something like that. I came across a game review magazine, and back then game review magazines were actually pretty good. they weren't like that today. Today they are more akin to movie reviews, where they basically just rehash their own opinions, whichever they are. Back then, reviews actually were written by people who were passionate about gaming, and as such, they did more than simply review the game. They actually they did review the game on personal preference level. They actually played the game. If they're doing long exposés, they would actually rehash a few starting levels of the game, so you would have an idea of what exactly is happening in the game and make it be a judge for yourself, which I think was somewhat easier back in the day, because the games were just a bit more straightforward and hence easier to translate to paper. Analyzed everything like roles, skills you're gonna be using, all that stuff. Basically, it was like analysis that like extremely in-depth analysis, which I think Baldur Gate was very good for, since it's such a D&D spec games, D&D spec game that has those very specific and yet reasonably straightforward rules. But anyway, back to the 95-96. I got a hold of this magazine that was discussing Baldur's Gate, and as I said, it was doing all this in extreme depth. Actually, it was written out what was happening in the beginning of the game. Like, I think it might have been even playthrough. It might have been entire playthrough that was spread over, different sections of magazine. I'm not entirely sure. I only had one edition of the magazine, so it was only this particular part. Don't remember what that part was about, but it definitely wasn't in the beginning of the game. It was like maybe it was in the beginning of the game, and then it sort of stretched. I definitely remember only one thing, that some kind of fight against a bear in Snowy Mountain or something like that. And the game just caught my attention because of just the extreme backstories and extreme role playing that the characters were experiencing. It was like a really an extremely immersive and interesting fantasy book. And back in those days, I actually was very much into Robert. I think his name was Robert Irving Howard. I believe that was his full name. The guy who created Conan. He was an excellent fantasy storyteller, and I was into that kind of stuff. So this game really resonated with me, and I really, this is really this is really the exact point where I developed this passion for computer gaming, because it just, not even playing the game, just simply reading about the game plunged me into this world that I didn't fully understand, but yet I was so excited to be part of. And I think I read that review several times before I had to give the magazine back to my friend, and I really dreamt that, whenever I would get a computer, which I thought was inevitable because, I was from a relatively well-off family, and everyone else was getting computers, and my father back in the day, he was a programmer, so computers, I was sure, was his jam as well. And he was a programmer back in the days where they were using 5-inch floppy disks and all that stuff. He even used to use punch cards. That's how far back he was doing that stuff. Um, Anyway, yeah, this game definitely ignited this review of this game, and there was a review of Thief, which also just created such a unique world, and like I just described, in a very the mechanics of Thief were amazing to me at the time, like how one action would influence the other action and how they would all interact. Just seemed such an elaborate creation of the world that they existed in, and same was up with Baldur's Gate. And I gotta admit, I am a bit of a nerd, so the whole idea of stats distribution in Baldur's Gate also brought me, as James May puts it, some kind of fizzy feeling in my loins. And unfortunately, when I actually got computer, before that I was before I so Baldur's Gate created this desire for me to play computer games, and before I had a computer, I would go to computer cafes, PC bangs, whatever you want to call them, where you could play games. But obviously, don't go there alone. So I went there with friends, and we started out with Quake 2, Counter Strike, StarCraft, and all the multiplayer games. I think it was ridiculous amounts of Quake 2, ridiculous amounts, and so when we finally got computers, that's what I sort of stuck with. And obviously there was also consideration of price for the games. I usually would just get games wherever I could, maybe borrow from friends, or buy them on the cheap, or get them for birthday, stuff like that. We would always trade games for birthdays. So Baldur's Gate, I never truly really fulfilled my wish to play the first game I wanted to play, which was Baldur's Gate. And I guess it's fitting now that I get to play it now, even though I don't know if this is exactly what I want to play. I heard it was like a really hard game and unforgiving. Like if you get things wrong in the beginning, they just snowball until you can't complete the game anymore. This is like Dark Souls of turn-based RPGs. So yeah, this will have to do. This will have to be the introduction. Also have to probably set my bitrate to a bit less than it is now. I set it to 5K for StarCraft 2, obviously. 1920 by what was that, 1080 or something. But I don't know the resolutions. F me. Yeah. Anyway, I think this was slightly incoherent because, well, I'll just write it off on being not 100%. Maybe I'll do another intro later, but this will do good. Test sound levels, maybe. Either way, I'll be back.